Welcome to Survey of the Old Testament at Louisiana College. My name is Dr. Del Rio, and I'll be serving as the adjunct professor for the course for this semester. This video is basically an introductory video that allows me to accomplish a couple of things. One, introduce myself to you, even if by way of video. Sometimes I feel it helps to if you could put a face to a name, helps to learning process, helps to communicate, things like that. But also, and mainly, this video serves as an overall introduction to the course. We'll be going through the syllabus, the format, structure of the course, things like that. So if you have the syllabus, which hopefully you will, I emailed that out earlier to each one of you. If you have the syllabus, go ahead and take that out. It helps to have it in front of you as I walk through the course. If you don't, you go to the portal, class portal, and under resources, you'll find the syllabus listed there, and you can download it in PDF form and print it up or just have it on your laptop. So as I said, my name is Dr. Del Rio. I am an adjunct professor, which means I'm not on campus. This is an online course. It's entirely online course. Sometimes students get confused by that when they enroll in the class. They think I have an office on campus, but I'm a remote professor. I don't even live in the state of Louisiana. I live in Florida, and the entire course is entirely online. But you can contact me a number of different ways throughout the semester if you need to. Have any questions or have any hang-ups with tests or anything like that. In any way I can help, don't hesitate to contact me. A couple of ways you can is by email. You'll see that at the top of the syllabus on the first page, delio.delrio@lacollege.edu, and you also have my cell phone there. So feel free to call me at any point in the semester or email me if you have any questions or if I can help in any way. I've even had students in the past who have wanted to discuss ideas they read about in the book or need help preparing for a test, and I've had students who have, we've done video chats, so I'm open to that as well, FaceTime or some other video chat format. So in any way I can help throughout the semester, be sure to contact me. Well, like the title of the class says, this is a survey course of the Old Testament, which means we won't be getting in deep into various books of the Old Testament, but it's a survey. It's an overall sort of a flyover the entire Old Testament. We will be looking at each book individually, briefly, but not taking deep dives into it. As you see in the course outcomes on page 1, the overall goal of the course really is to help you become familiar with the Old Testament to the point that you kind of understand the history, what the Old Testament is all about, the unfolding story of the Old Testament, the various types of literature. There are a number of different types of literature, from history books to poetic books to prophecy, things like that. And really to get to a point where you become familiar with the major theological themes. The Old Testament has a number of themes working their way out through the literature, and the goal of the course is to help you become more and more familiar with that. So you'll notice that I'm not the kind of professor that spends a lot of time focusing on dates. I'm not saying dates aren't important or timelines aren't important. You'll read about that in the textbook. But my quizzes and tests and exams won't have a lot to do with dates. Instead, I'll focus on the main figures of the Old Testament, main people involved, major events, and the major themes of various books of the Old Testament is the main focus. Now, there are 2 textbooks listed. One is in your syllabus. One is just the Bible. You can get it in any version you feel comfortable with. Most of you I know probably get it on an app. That's fine. Don't run out and buy one unless you want to. You can read it on a phone app for free. But the main textbook, besides the Bible, is Hill and Walton's. My edition looks like this. Sometimes the cover will change. The Hill and Walton's A Survey of the Old Testament looks something like that. Big, thick book, right? But don't let it scare you. It's a good read. Some of you, I should say, may have an older edition. This is the 3rd edition, and you'll see in the syllabus that I list the 3rd edition there. If you have a 1st or 2nd edition, don't go and run out unless you want to and pay the money for the 3rd edition. You can get by in this course with an older edition. It just means there will be some minor differences. But as you notice in the syllabus on page, let me look that up, at the bottom of page 2 where the assignments are listed, you'll notice I list various chapters for each unit. If you have an older edition, a 1st or 2nd edition, the only thing it means is you'll have to make sure that the subjects of those chapters correspond correctly. I honestly don't remember in the first, second edition exactly where all the chapters outline, but there are a couple of ways to do that. One is to pay attention to each time a new unit rolls out, and I send out an email saying, hey, today we start Unit 1 or today we start Unit 2. Be sure to check on there and notice which books of the Old Testament we're going to be covering in that unit. So for example, with Unit 1, I have it listed in the syllabus as chapters 3 through 9, but those are the books of the Pentateuch. So you just want to make sure that your chapters, if you have an older edition, correspond correctly to the books of the Pentateuch: Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. So most of the time it's going to line up. Every now and then you may get some slight variation. You just have to be aware of that if you have an older edition. So that's the textbook for the course. If you look on page 2 at the top, the course, your grade basically comes from 4 different areas. The first one is the Old Testament reading. Now, we are not requiring you to read the entire Old Testament. That would be a lot of reading. So what I've done is I've gone through the Old Testament and selected portions of the Old Testament read that will give you sort of highlights and important parts of the Old Testament. So for example, if you look down toward the bottom of page 2 in Unit 1, you'll see that 4th bullet point that says Old Testament reading, and it says Genesis 1 through 3. That means Genesis chapters 1 through 3. Then it says 12 through 17. That means Genesis 12 through 17. That means you do not have to read. You're not required for this course to read chapters 4 through 11 in the book of Genesis. Just read the assigned Old Testament readings as it's listed in the unit. And 15, what's the percentage of the reading? 10%, as you see in the middle of page 2 there. 10% of your final grade comes from your Old Testament reading. As you look down through the grade unit there, you'll see that a portion of your grade comes from reading quizzes, a portion from discussion board participation. I think in the portal format for Louisiana College, they call it discussion forums. And then a portion of your grade comes from your midterm and your final exam. You see the breakdown of percentages there. Now let me talk about a little bit about, before I move on to the structure of the class, let me say something about the quizzes and the exams. Students ask me this a lot. Do I have to study for the quizzes? Well, there is one quiz given per unit, and I tell students all the time that you don't really have to study for the quizzes. I design the quizzes in such a way that if you've read the material, the textbook material, you'll do fine on the quiz. Most of the students I find, as long as they read the material, they get A's and B's on the quizzes. The quizzes are really designed, they're not real detailed questions. They're very broad, general questions. If you don't do the reading, you're probably going to struggle on them. But do the reading, then take the quiz, and you should do fine. Quizzes are usually about 10 questions or so, mostly true, false, some multiple choice, and you get 15 minutes. They are timed 15 minutes. And they are all exams and quizzes in this course are closed book. So in fact, each quiz ends, I have included in each quiz a question that asks, did you read all the assigned textbook reading for this unit? True or false? And if you did and you answer true, usually that one question alone is worth somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 points on that quiz. So you can get 50 to 60% points on the quiz just by doing the textbook reading. So the quizzes are not really difficult. Don't let them scare you. They're really accountability tools to say, did you do your reading? And really they're mainly for that. Now the exams you will need to study for. There's a midterm and a final exam. I do provide study guides, and then I build the exams off the study guides. So the study guides also you will find in the resource section of the class portal. What I'll say is, know the study guide and you'll do fine on the exam. In fact, I encourage students that when we get to exam time, that's midterm and final exam, take time to create a study guide of your own. You take that study guide I give you in a PDF format and work out, answer each one of them, and learn the things I tell you to learn on the study guide, because everything that's on the test comes right from that study guide. So know the study guide and you'll know the test. So that's the midterm and final exam. Now, let me talk about how this course is structured. As I said in the beginning of the video, It's entirely an online course, which means you'll do everything through the class portal. The entire class is broken down into 8 units. If you're taking this class in the spring or the fall, each unit is going to be a 2-week block. So there'll be 2 weeks to do each unit. If you're taking this class in the summer, then that's condensed down. It's the same basic content in each unit, but because the summer is a shortened semester, it's 8 weeks, it's half the time, everything gets crunched down into 1 week. So each unit is 1 week. Okay. Now, if you will scroll down to page 2, or actually go down to page 2, bottom of page 2, you'll see assignments, and there's sort of a grid there, a block. I'm going to walk you through so you kind of understand how the class is structured. So you'll see it'll say Unit 1, the Pentateuch, and then it'll have dates there, the week or 2-week period dates corresponding to your semester in parentheses there, and then it'll bullet point everything you're going to do for that unit. So for example, in Unit 1, you're going to read chapters 3 through 9 in your textbook, your Hill and Walton textbook. You're going to watch videos. Okay, now these videos are short videos done by the authors of your textbook on various subjects of each chapter. Now, where you find those videos is in the class portal. You'll go to resources. There's a blue column on the left-hand side of your screen. You'll see resources. Click on that. Then you'll see something that says bookmarks. And all the videos will just be listed right there. They're all on YouTube. The authors of the textbook, Zondervan, the publisher of the textbook, provides them there. I've just organized them nice and neat into your portal. So you just click on that chapter video. So if you click on resources, if you have your computer open, you want to click on that now, go to resources, and you scroll down, you'll see handouts. That's where all the handouts for the class are. And then you see bookmarks. Notice Unit 1, and all the videos are listed by unit. So Unit 1, the Pentateuch, and you have a whole bunch of videos there. One is chapter 3, one is for chapter 4, one is for chapter, you got looks like 2 or 3 videos, 2 videos, 1, 2, 3, no, 3 videos for chapter 5. And so all these videos are very short. They range in 2 to 5 or 6 minutes. But I include them and ask you to watch them because they give you these nice little insights into some of the things the authors are talking about in the textbooks. So on the syllabus, when it says watch videos, that's what it's referring to. Then you have a quiz. That's the reading quiz I talked about, which you'll take in the portal. You'll find that on coursework. So all your assignments are accessed through, again, that blue column on the left side of your screen. Click on coursework, and then you'll scroll down to your unit, and I release the units as we go along. So if you're listening to this on day 1 of the class, the only thing you should see there is Unit 1. And then when Unit 2 is ready, we're ready to start Unit 2, it'll become available, and then you'll start with the Unit 2 work. If you need access to a unit, say I get this a lot, students are going to be out of town, maybe they're involved in a conference or some sort of ministry or different things, and they need early access to a unit, I can do that. You just need to email me and say, hey, can I get early access to the unit so I can start a little bit early on some of those assignments? If you have any scheduling issues like that, let me know. Just email me and let me know, and I'll work with you on that. So the assignments or the quizzes are listed there. They're called reading quizzes on the units. Then you have the Old Testament reading on your syllabus in Unit 1. You see that's the 4th bullet point down. And then you just, as I said, you read just the assigned portions of the Old Testament that I give you. And then finally you see that bullet point discussion board. That's the forum. Now, the way you access that is in the blue menu again. In your portal, you'll see discussion forum. Click on that, and you will see all the discussion threads listed by unit. So in there, you should see Unit 1, theme of sin in Genesis, another one, Unit 1, Exodus, another one says Unit 1, God's testing in Numbers. You are required, as students in this class, you're required to answer every single one of those. So for Unit 1, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 assigned questions, threaded question, which means you should have at least 4 initial answers, 1 for each Total. You're also required, as the syllabus says, to respond to at least two of your fellow students, or it could be one of my posts. Oftentimes I'll jump in there, I do read them, and I'll jump in there and make some comments or answer questions. If you want to respond to one of mine, that works for one of your two required replies. So one initial answer to each theme, to each thread, and then two replies to each thread. Two replies, a reply to a student. You do not reply twice to every student, just two per thread. Okay, so for example, where it says Unit 1, Theme of Sin in Genesis, I posted a question there. You would post a reply to my question, watch it throughout the week, and as students or myself make comments, you can jump in there and make some comment of your own. So under Unit 1, you should have a total of minimum 3 posts. One initial and 2 replies. That's how that works. And then there's always, in every unit, I include one that says thoughts or questions, in which it's just an open form. You're not required to put anything there. It's just I offer it as a way for you to ask any general questions that might be helpful. It could be questions for me or to other students, anything like that. That might be helpful for the class. Now you might say, well, why don't I just email your question? Well, you could do that too, but a lot of times I like students to put it in there into that interesting, thoughts or questions of that unit, because your question may be a question that another student had as well, and my answering it could help them. So think of those forums as substituting for classroom discussion. They are the classroom discussion. So you want to visit them. You want to click in there and look at them several times a week. Okay. Now, keep in mind on those discussion board questions, the due dates. The due dates will vary depending on whether it's a summer class or a spring or fall class. But I always require the initial post, your initial post to each one, a day or two before. That way it gives everybody a few days to kind of reply. So think of it, you need to access that discussion board a little bit like you would some social media like Facebook or something. Just every couple of days or so, go in there and see if there are any new postings and interact with what you read there. Okay, so that's all, and every unit's going to be structured like that. If you look at the assignments page, the assignments chart on page 2 and page 3, you'll notice every unit works the same way. There's a rhythm to it. You read your textbook chapters, you watch the videos, and I would do it in the order you have here. You take the quiz, the reading quiz, read your Old Testament along in there, and then go on and do your discussion board posts, your discussion forum posts, and that's the unit. So each unit follows along that format, except for the midterm and the final exam. They're not technically called units on your syllabus, but they make up a week. So you have 6 content units, then you have a whole week if you're in the summer, or a 2-week period if in the spring or fall, to do the midterm and the final exam. So that's the structure of the course and how we flow along. Remember, all quizzes and exams are closed book, and take note of the due dates on your discussion board participation. Because I do watch the due dates on those. Also, I often get students ask me, what kind of initial post or reply? How much do I need to type in order to be sufficient? I tell people that you should have at least a paragraph or two. That initial, not every reply. Sometimes students just reply with a sentence or two. That's fine. But on your initial answer to the threaded question that I posed in each of those forum threads should be at least a paragraph or two. You think of them as very short essays. You need to thoughtfully think through, include some of the information that you might have read in the textbook. You really need to access some of that textbook material and work it into your question, or to your answer as you're answering the question that I posed. So it needs to be a little bit more substantial than just saying, I really liked what Hill and Walton said. They made good points. Well, tell me what good points and why you agree or disagree with them. And sometimes it helps your fellow students and myself to maybe jot down a page number. If you're going to reference or make a comment about something that they said in the book, include the page number in parentheses in your answer. I always encourage students to type out your answers in a separate document and keep that saved in your computer. Just save that in your computer. Type it out there, cut and copy it and paste it in. Every now and then I have students that will be typing the answer directly into the forum, and then something happens with the computer, they get kicked out and they lose the answer. Do them in a separate document on your computer. That way you have it, save it, and you can just cut and paste it as you're ready to post. So that's the nature of the course. That's the format and how the grades are calculated along those lines and those assignments. There are no papers for this class. It's all quizzes, exams, and reading, and then the discussion boards. You do have to type those essay kind of answers to the discussion boards, but no major papers or anything like that. So again, I'm looking forward to this semester studying and talking with you through the online format. And don't hesitate to contact me, call me, or email me if you have any questions, and I can help you along the way.